from the basement of the beautiful Chrysler building in New York City, where we applied to be part of Zuckerberg's metaverse, but we were rejected because people actually go here. This is the Scammies. I'm your host, Michael Robertson, and each episode I'm trying to make you a little bit smarter so you can spot the scams and the scammers and ultimately keep more of your own money. In 2012, the US government changed the law to allow companies to take investment from anyone, not just rich people. They call this crowdfunding. But companies can't just put up a form on their website and collect money. They must use a funding portal. And these portals must register with the government and follow certain rules. For some of my companies, like mp3.com and Gizmo5, I've raised investor money in the traditional manner, meaning from venture capitalists. It's worked out well for everyone. I made money and so have the venture capitalists. But I've got a new company called Webunder.tech. I think it'd be awesome if the webinar host, those who are doing the hard work of making the webinars people are coming to watch, could own a piece of the company. I'm not talking about buying shares after we go public and are highly valued, but being able to invest in the early days where a small investment may turn into something substantial. I've been investigating which funding portal to use. There's many, but a handful do 90% or more of the action. And these include Wefunder, Republic, StartEngine, Issuance.com, and Dealmaker. I'll leave a list in the comments. Now, I haven't decided which one to use, but during my investigation, I turned up serious questions about one company that I wanted to share with you. And I definitely caution you against working with this company, and that is StartEngine. There are three concerns I have. The first is I took a look at some recent companies that have raised the most money with StartEngine, and I was shocked at the questionable quality of these companies. Some of the companies made unsubstantiated claims, like Rentberry, who touted a completely phony partnership with Expedia. Other companies have truly outrageous valuations, like Boxabl, a home builder, which is claiming a valuation of more than $3.3 billion after doing less than $2 million in revenue last year. Did I mention that the two founders gave themselves 3 billion shares? Yeah, I said billion. To put this another way, these companies are utter garbage, and investors will surely lose all of their money. I actually did a deeper dive into Rentberry in a previous Scammies episode, and Moe Loeker did a great analysis of Boxabl. I'll put a link to both in the description. You'll want to watch them. Now, since StartEngine gets around 8% of any investment monies they've raised, they're financially inclined not to ask too many questions about companies that they're selling shares for. And I'm not the only person raising these issues. Finra, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, that acts as a self-regulatory organization for exchanges, fined StartEngine $350,000 for selling shares in a company touting a robot that didn't work and a basketball team that didn't play basketball. Now, another big concern with StartEngine is that they are nonstop running their own investment campaign, which is a huge conflict of interest. Imagine wanting to sell a drink and you need to find a bottler and a distributor for help. So you find one only to discover that they're selling their own drink to all of your customers. That's precisely what is happening with StartEngine. When you go to the StartEngine website, the main focus is raising money for their own crowdfunding campaign, not showcasing the companies that have signed up to be listed on their portal. Now, I reached out to the CEO of StartEngine, Howard Marks, with my concern about this conflict of interest. And to his credit, he did reply. And here's what he said. Last year, we spent over $10 million in TV marketing, not for our raise, but to bring in a lot of investors. No other platform has spent any meaningful amount, and we did because we could raise capital. It's not a conflict, but beneficial for our customers. Well, he didn't really say why it's not a conflict. He deflected by saying they're not wasting the money. Might be true. but it doesn't address the inherent conflict. Another top funding portal is Wefunder, and they're also running their own crowdfunding campaign. But instead of commandeering their own site and bombarding their users, they're using an entirely different funding portal called Honeycomb Credit. Here's a picture of their listing. StartEngine is constantly raising capital. There's nothing wrong with that. After I contacted them, they did stop listing their own fundraise primarily on their main page. But what I really have an issue with is their valuation. Let me show you. They're selling shares at a $1.3 billion valuation. Meaning for investors to earn any money, they'll have to be sold or go public for more than that amount. That seems highly unlikely. Now, crowdfunding is likely to attract less sophisticated investors. They may not appreciate the huge importance of entry point. This is the price of the company when the investment is made. Imagine if you're buying a used car to try and sell it to make money. You can't pay too much. Otherwise, it will be difficult or impossible to find a buyer to pay a higher price. That's exactly the same when you invest in a company. If you pay too high a price initially, you're never going to make any money. StartEngine is selling shares at unicorn pricing, which is an industry term for a valuation of $1 billion or greater. Contrast that with Wefunder, which is a comparable company that has 1/4 that valuation. For crowdfunding to have longevity and not get tarnished with the stench of deceivers and thieves and scammers, some of the investors need to see a positive return. Some, maybe many, will lose their money because startups is a high risk, high reward proposition. But if you take away the high reward part, then success is impossible. And a $1 billion valuation does exactly that. Just as Uber made some rich, we want some crowdfunding companies to make some in the middle class wealthy. This only happens if there are quality companies and the valuation is reasonable. Funding portals like StartEngine need to provide some oversight to ensure that garbage companies aren't using them to take money from unsophisticated investors. Well, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think about crowdfunding or StartEngine or anything in this episode by leaving a comment. That's this episode of Scammies. Click that like button if you want more Scammies episodes. Click that subscribe button to be the first notified of our upcoming award show. Thanks for watching.